Hello everyone, hope you had a nice weekend. Welcome to Monday and your episode of Johnny Vlogs. Today's episode of Johnny Vlogs is brought to you by new Patreon supporters, Pete. It's either Iric or Irich or possibly Irich. Sorry, Pete. I'm trying it every way I can. I hope one of those is right. Thank you so much for your support, Pete. Also, Larissa Klaus, thank you so much for helping to keep me here doing what I love doing, as well as Randy, Catherine's. Thank each and every one of you and all of my other Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, this was originally a topic that was requested for Brain Scratch, but when I looked into it, there just wasn't quite enough information to do a full brain scratch on it. We're going to talk about Club 27. Now, for those of you that don't know, no, Club 27 is not the private club that is in Disneyland in New Orleans Square. Club 27 is a categorization or a grouping of primarily musicians that have died at the age of 27. And there does, when you initially hear about it and you look at the list, which is pretty lengthy, there does seem to be something to it. But if you dig in a little deeper, you will find out that statistically, it's not really completely out of the norm. Yes, there is certainly a spike at 27, but as we're going to learn from our good friend Wikipedia here, it's not that abnormal. So let's just jump into it. And they have a really good article on it, and it gets to the point fairly quickly. The 27 Club is a term that refers to the belief that an unusually high number of popular musicians and other artists have died at age 27, often as a result of drug and alcohol abuse or violent means such as homicide or suicide. Statistical studies, however, have failed to find any unusual pattern of musician deaths at this age, comparing it to the equally small increases at ages 25 and 32. With a 2011 BMJ, I believe that is the British Medical Journal, study noting instead that young adult musicians have a higher death rate than the rest of the young adult population, concluding fame may increase the risk of death among musicians, but this risk is not limited to age 27. Pretty interesting point there. You know, if you've hung around the music scene, you know that it's a completely different culture. You've got people that are essentially up late at night, and then they get to work, they do their show, and then they want to have fun after that, and they will usually party until all hours of the morning, and sometimes they have trouble getting up the next morning. I think a lot of musicians are probably not known as early birds, but when you mix that in with a partying lifestyle, sure, you know, alcohol is usually a part of that. Sometimes illegal narcotics can become a part of that. And all of these things are risk factors that are just increasing that group and the likelihood that something bad will happen to them. Throw in, hey, do you guys remember what it was like to be in your mid-20s? I know some of you aren't probably even there yet, but for most of us, I think looking back on it from being on this side of it, I would say I probably wasn't the safest at that age. I probably wasn't thinking of my health and safety first at that age. I think my focus at that age was more about having fun, having a good time, and sometimes when your focus is more on that, you know, you can lead yourself into some bad situations. So I think there certainly is something to this. Is a particular group in a particular industry that is already ultra competitive, extremely hard to work in, high pressure situations, and of course, after they get through with their gig, they're going to want to unload some of that energy or try to funnel it in some way. Some people, unfortunately, are going to try to numb themselves out to deal with that. So I get it. I get why there is a sharp rise of that number. But let's just take a look at the list here on Wikipedia. They have a list of over 60 names that they've included. It actually starts in 1892 2 with a composer, pianist, and conductor known as Alexandre Levy. But there are certainly some names you would probably know and recognize here. If we jump to 1970, we get Jimi Hendrix, we get Janis Joplin. 71, we get Jim Morrison. 1975, we get Pete Ham, the guitarist and keyboardist and leader of Badfinger. If we roll forward from that, of course, this is a big one that everyone knows, 1994, Kurt Cobain. If we jump to 2003, you get actor Jonathan Brandis, who some of you might remember from Sequest DSV, I believe it was called. Amy Winehouse in 2011, and then the last person to be tacked on to this list, Anton Yelchin in 2016, who I know most of us consider him a very fine actor. I really was upset at that loss, but he also was in a band. So once again, pretty interesting. And if you look through this list, they also have the reason for the death, and it's not always partying. I mean, we know that that is not the official explanation, particularly for Anton, but there are accidents. There are suicides. I think there might even be a murder or two in there. It is interesting to look at this data all put together. It is also interesting to note that so many of these names that are recognizable, but we don't have another list to compare it to of, hey, you know, let's put together a list of artists that died at the age of 25 or 32, as this Wikipedia article has stated, where there's other peaks that are also noted in terms of the numbers. So it's hard to say, is this truly abnormal or not? But I just wanted to put it to you guys. Is there something to this that we are not understanding? Is there something to this club outside of the risk factors of being a musician, being around a party scene, being young? Is there something else outside of that that could be making this number spike, particularly for musicians that are 27? Let me know about it in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to getting some different input and insight on this. I don't feel like there is, this is why I couldn't do a brain scratch on this. I don't feel like there's even necessarily a conspiracy theory about this. It is certainly a belief that many people have and other people look into, but there's no underarching like, yeah, we think that the Illuminati is doing it because 2 and 7 equals 9. Turn that upside down and put it 3 times, and you have 666, and that is the Illuminati's call for action. And every time one of these people died, that was because a political maneuver was happening on the other side of the earth. I have not heard any strong conspiracy theories tied to this particular theory. So if you have, please share that with the rest of us in the comments below. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about this, but as I'm sitting here looking at it now, it just seems like a little bit of a strange statistical anomaly. Even this article will say there is a little bit of a rise at 27, but it is comparable to the rise they also see at age 25 and age 32. And when I look into things like this, I always try to look at it from that point of view of, okay, yes, there's something going on here, but can we categorize it as truly abnormal? And at least to the information we're reviewing here, it's not really statistically abnormal. So, but you might have some information of your own to share with us there too. So please do so in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this edition of Johnny Vlogs. And I'm going to try to do this more often, try to cover topics that I maybe can't do a full-blown brain scratch on, but I still want to raise the information with you guys, see if you have some other feedback or input on it. So just know that that's going to be a bit more of my focus with Johnny Vlogs going forward into 2017 is what I meant to say. Sorry. Sometimes your brain just gets crossed. Have a great day, everyone. I'll catch you on the next show on the Lord and Arts channel. Take care.